Hello friends, my name is Deepak. Today we are going to discuss the functional and non-functional requirement and what are the differences. Well, let's begin with the functional requirement. Well, when it comes to the functional requirement, it defines how the system and its component will behave. Okay, how it will act. When it comes to non-functional requirement, it defines the quality attribute of the software. So let's say we take an example of ATM machine. So user should be able to withdraw the money. That should be the functional requirement. Okay, once user enter the pin, so the money should come out within 5 seconds or 10 seconds. That would be the non-functional requirement. The first one is defining the component. Another one is defining how the system would behave. So that would be the non-functional requirement. Second point is it specifies what should the software system do. Okay, and when it comes to non-functional requirement, it says how the system should action or behave. So it's pretty straightforward. I mean, what the system should do, how the system should behave. So when it comes to let's take an example again for the ATM. I should be able to see the balance. Okay, so that would be the system requirement. That would be the functional requirement. But when I enter the pin, how fast the system should show the balance on the screen, that would be non-functional requirement. Okay, and third point is functional requirement is specified by the users, and non-functional requirement specified by technical people, architect, technical leader, and software developer. Well, when it comes to this functional requirement, these requirements are captured by the end user, and the other users or other users of the applications. Non-functional requirement, it can also come from the user, but these are defined by the technical leads or architect. I mean, they will specify how fast the system should behave. Let's take an example. If there is a gap in terms of the security, so architect or technical people will let you know that there is less security when it comes to the data. So that would be the non-functional requirement. It will give you the security feature. Okay, they will tell you that there is less security, so you will implement security feature. You will have, to make the data protected, you'll have implemented some functions or some firewalls to protect the data so that no outsider can access your application or your database. So these non-functional requirements come from technical leads and architects. It can come from the business users as well, but mostly it comes through the technical side. Well, the functional requirements are mandatory and non-functional requirements are not mandatory. Well, when it comes to this user, who is providing you the requirement, they want function to be implemented first. They don't think about non-functional requirement that much. They will tell you that I want to do these actions and it should be performed by the system. So these requirement becomes mandatory. These are mandatory, but when it comes to the requirement, you can prioritize which ones are first to be implemented, which ones are later to be implemented, or which ones cannot be implemented. That would be the decision that you and business users and technical teams can make. Which features are very mandatory, so you can implement first, and if you do not have technical feasibility, then you can leave those requirements. But majority of the requirements are mandatory when it comes to the functional requirement. Non-functional requirement, these are not mandatory. Okay, sometimes it would happen that some users may accept the latency when they are processing the request. So these are little not mandatory. User would be okay if your request is processed within 1 second, 2 seconds, or 3 seconds, or 10 seconds. They would not think about that non-functional requirement as such. So these are little not mandatory when it comes to designing the system. Well, it is captured in a use case and it's a product feature. And when it comes to non-functional requirement, these are captured as a quality attribute. Okay, product properties. So when you are preparing your document for the function requirement, it would be captured as a use cases. You will keep the user in mind, and then you will try to write your user stories, or you write how the system will behave. Use cases you will write for that. uh, you will write flow diagrams keeping the users in mind. Well, quality attribute, these are product attributes, so product properties. So you will not could prepare the use cases or any diagrams. You may simply write down that if I'm processing a request, it has to have, like, it has to be processed within 3 seconds, within 5 seconds. So these are the product attributes. Well, functional requirements are defined at the component level, and non-functional requirements are designed applied as a system. Okay, it applies completely on the system. So when it comes to, like, let's take an example of ATM. So each component will be defined separately. I want to withdraw money, I want to see my balance in the account, I want to change my ATM pin, I want to register my email address, I want to register my mobile number, cell number. So these were the components. These function requirement, each function will be defined separately. Well, when it comes to non-functional requirement, they would ask you to like, the system should be secured. When I'm entering my pin, it should be secured. Nobody should be able to steal my ATM pin or my credit card details or debit card details. So these were the security features that they want to implement on the system as a whole. They want requests to be processed very fast. They don't want 5-second delay or 10-second delay. So these would be applied as a system completely on the system. They would want the system to be available all the time. Okay, that would be availability that would they expect from the system. So that would be applied on the overall system. So when it comes to functional requirement, those would be component level. When it comes to non-functional requirement, they would be on the system as a whole. Well, next point, it's help you to verify the functionality of the software. When it comes to non-functional requirement, they help you to verify performance of the software. So when you are testing your software, you will the tester will see each function of the software. They will separately check each and every function. While verifying the non-functional requirement, they will simply see how the system is behaving, the performance of the system, if there are too many requests being processed, how the load balancing is working, or how the software is performing when we are processing too many requests. Okay. Functional testing, like system integration, end-to-end API testing, etc., are done for the functional requirement. Non-functional for non-functional requirement, performance, stress, usability, security testing will be done. So when tester is testing, they will check the system integration, whether the data is flowing from one system to another properly. They will see the input and output. They will see end-to-end. Our end-to-end testing will be done. How the APIs are working. Okay, these things will be tested in the functional requirement. When it comes to non-functional requirement, they will see the performance. They will see the stress. Okay, there are too many requests, whether they are being processed properly or not. Load balancing is working or not. Usability, is user comfortable using that application. Security, whether that application, the only the required or authorized users are able to access that software. No other the person who does not have access to that application should not be able to access. So security testing will be done. Nobody able to penetrate or go to the database and steal the information. It should not happen. How the security features have been implemented, these things will be tested in the performance. Well, when it comes to functional requirement, these are usually easy to define, and when it comes to non-functional requirement, these are difficult to define. So usually what happens when you're writing a user story or user providing you the functional requirement, they will say that I should be able to withdraw the money from the ATM, I should be able to check my balances, I should be able to change the ATM pin, I should be able to see all the menu items on the screen. So uh, these requirements are very easy to define. When it comes to non-functional requirement, these are a little difficult to define. I mean, sometimes the end user would not understand what kind of feature, what is happening at the back end, what kind of security feature is required. So they would not be able to define these requirements. We can take one example of it: authentication of a user whenever he logs into a system. So whenever user is logging, he should be able to enter the correct username and password. That would be the user's requirement. Okay. And the non-functional example would be like email should be sent with a latency of no greater than hour from such activity. So if suppose there is a you withdraw money from the ATM and you want a notification on the email. So you want that as soon as I withdraw the money, within 5 minutes or 10 minutes, I should receive an email with the attachment of my transaction. So that could be non-functional requirement. Well, there are some examples of acronyms that we can when it comes to functional requirement, you can conceive in your mind. So the calculation, data consumption, the language that we're going to use to develop our software, the APIs, these things will be coming when you are dealing with the functional requirement. When you're dealing with the non-functional requirement, mostly you'll have reliability, security, scalability, performance, availability, accessibility, and usability. These terms will be defined when you are dealing with non-functional requirements. So user want reliability. They want all system to be reliable. They want system to be available. They want system to be performing well. Requests are being processed properly and within the defined time frame. Availability, your system should be available 24/7 or 24/5. Accessibility, I should be able to log into the system. It should not happen that even though I'm using correct username and password, but system does not allow me to enter to log in. Usability, I should be able to use the system very easily. Not should the functions are taking a lot of time. If I'm browsing hovering through menus or browsing through different functions of the software, it's cumbersome. So these things will come when you're dealing in the non-functional requirements. So these are some basic differences in the functional and non-functional requirement. So that's it for today, guys. If you liked the video, give me thumbs up. Thank you. Bye.